We're learning more about what sparked a fire north of downtown Wichita yesterday that created this huge plume of smoke. Firefighters say that a burn pit that was last used Monday likely caused that fire. It burned through multiple backyards and threatened several homes. The fire burned 4 sheds, 2 yard fences, 1 vehicle, and the outside of a home. This was in the 1500 block of North St. Francis. A down power line in 1 backyard did only complicate the efforts. Firefighters say that they also had to navigate through trash and other items that were scattered in the backyards, that also impacting response. 50 firefighters worked to contain the fire, which caused an estimated $15,000 in damages.